Hello, everyone. It's 6:20 a.m. on April 14th, which is let's see, get the information here. I think this is the actual date that I was released last year from EMDC as I was being held on remand with a heavy-handed level of bail requirements. And there's some stuff with that again is still not that still has not been dealt with. And even though I want to talk about Bill C-8 in this video, there are some things that have uh, is a correlation to my time in being held hostage, quite frankly, by the judicial system on behalf of the victim, uh, and I put that in bunny ear quotations because, well, who's the victim, right? I would have to argue that it was me. It was me. Okay, I did everything within my abilities to seek out reasonable due process, right? Or adjudication or whatever else within the confines of the law. I didn't go around, um, destroying people's property or threatening their lives or anything like that. I provided evidence, and I even contacted the authorities. I was not listened to. I was not dealt with in a serious manner, and in fact, the law enforcement agencies, in my opinion, were used and manipulated on behalf of this person and persons um, as punishment for having spoken out in the first place or having taken interest in someone else's safety, irregardless of how they felt about their own liberty and dominion. And again, there's the infringement of someone's rights ends where someone else's begins. Okay, and that's exactly the point of the judicial system is to bring forward any kind of complaint or grievance, and get to the bottom of it. That's what I would hope. Um, and again, by doing this video, I hope that I'm going to tag a couple of people or organizations. I hope that I do you proud in this because I did not seek revenge. I just wanted what was fair. I didn't have to go through what I went through. It was completely, utterly disgusting what happened to me. And if it happened to me, it's happened to someone else. And there's no way within this country that should happen. But of course it does. There's things that fall through the cracks. And I don't want this to happen to someone else. So, I in recording these videos and embarking upon this project with the history of propaganda, and then also Shirtless Bro, which is a suicide prevention thing, because I have the motivations genuinely and sincerely to do that, irregardless of the perception or the complaints or the grievances or the temper tantrums, quite frankly, that other people happen to have that have been encouraged by the legal system and condoned by policy and funded by taxpayer money. Now, there's some things going on in the infosphere about C-8 that says this was posted by Maxime Bernier, and if you're going to go to battle, if you're going to fight someone in the gladiatorial forum, the Colosseum, you better have the weapons, right? You better have the training. And you better have the discipline, the perseverance, and the endurance, the physical conditioning in order to do so. Because again, your opponent is just waiting for you to give up. They're just waiting. They're just waiting and hoping for you to just surrender and give in. Um, because at a certain point, they don't have what you have. And in order to win in any kind of conflict, uh, it's a mental battle, right? It's not entirely physical. It's like 90% mental. 90. This is why my channel is called Everyday Taekwondo. I may not practice Taekwondo all the time, but I know the vulnerabilities of a person, physically and mentally and socially, and I have many weapons at my disposal. You don't need a gun or a knife to kill someone. Uh, and you don't need these physical interventions to destroy someone else's life. And that's what I think, what I perceive is something that this bill is this amendment to the Telecommunications Act is trying to prevent the ruin and the vigilantism, because any kind of act of vigilantism or mob justice undermines the judicial system, and therefore extrapolated is a threat to national security. But the specific details of this bill have to do with threats or persons or organizations that are actively attempting to degrade or destroy the infrastructure, the telecommunications infrastructure in Canada. And whether that be a person within our domestic borders or in cooperation, even though it doesn't say this explicitly, with other organizations or entities in other countries or other jurisdictions, because it references the criminal code, and the criminal code can be used in any kind of indictable offense or summary conviction or hybrid offense, right? That's the whole point of it. That's why it's there. And again, there's some misinformation out there, and I don't like that, right? So misinformation is a weapon of politics, and this is not about politics. This bill and the amendment, rather the amendment of the Telecommunications Act, which came into force in the early 90s, is to update it, and then it's the Critical Cyber Systems Protection Act. That's what it's bringing into force. So this is specific details and structure concerning the internet. And Canadians are one of the greatest per capita, largest users of the internet in the world. So, thankfully, there are some. It's just not what we think it is. I said the same thing of Bill C-9. Again, there's some attempts to stoke the fire because it's the liberals in power, and it's not the conservatives or the NDP or the PPC. I would like to think that this bill is apolitical. And if you've gotten this far to the 10 minutes, thanks, man. Thank you so much. Again, I hope you do. I do the people, do everyone proud by talking about this. Again, these agencies that I happen to tag. And if I were to say anything, okay, all right, director, this one's for you, specifically. Because this is really important for the RCMP and CSIS to do their jobs. And I'll talk about it here. I have different bullet points. So starting from the beginning, This bill is an amendment to the Telecommunications Act that provides a structure for prosecuting offenses related to national security and to provide legal and financial immunity to telecommunications providers, after this TCP, in the instance that one of their customers commits an offense as detailed in the criminal code. All right. This bill, this amendment, imposes conditions and requirements of the TCPs to provide backup systems that assessments of vulnerabilities be conducted on a periodic basis, and that procurement plans by these providers for equipment or whatever else be subject to review by the Minister of Public Safety. It allows the Minister of Public Safety, and from here on in I'll say the Minister, on reasonable grounds. Some of this is taken directly from the readings of PRL.ca or from the Department of Justice website. And of course, I'll put those two links in the description of this video. Okay, and it allows for the minister, again, on reasonable grounds, that is necessary to do so to secure the Canadian telecommunications system against any threat, including that of interference, manipulation, disruption, or degradation. That insertion start that, I don't know exactly what that is. It's just some syntax error. That is responsible to do so in relation to the gravity of the threats. Prohibit the TCP from using any specific product or service agreement that could be a threat to national security. So basically, the minister is allowed to intervene and say, we want to ban the use of TikTok. Then we can do that. And there will be no legal repercussions, because the telecommunications service providers will be obliged to do so. The Minister of Public Safety must consider operational or financial impact on the affected TCP, its potential impact on Canadians, or any other factor that the minister considers relevant. So, they have to think about it for a little bit. They can't just impulsively decide to cut someone off, or to cut a group of people, or an organization, or a company, an incorporation. You can't just cut them off because they want to. This bill brings into force more legislation intended to protect the telecommunications infrastructure by enacting policies set forth in the Critical Cyber Systems Protection Act, therein referred to as CCSPA. This bill does not enforce censorship, nor oblige a telecommunications provider to do so either. So you can't stop the flow of information. You can't stop the freedom of expression. They can't get in the way of that. That's not what this bill, as detailed publicly and explicitly, what it's supposed to do. The bill specifically states that the Minister of Public Safety is not permitted to order a TSP to intercept private communication or radio-based telephone communication, as this is detailed in Section 183 of the Criminal Code. So they can't order a wiretap or anything like that by the TCP, but it does not state that the RCMP, provincial police organization, or a municipal police service cannot do so. But they have to have probable cause in order for them to do so. The government is not required to disclose any details of the proceedings, nor provide financial compensation from His Majesty in right of Canada for duress as a consequence of criminal prosecution, nor from the making of an order of compliance. So there's stuff in this bill that's basically saying that, I'll get to this, that they want compliance. They don't want punishment. It's not intended for punishment. Bill C-8 allows for and gives authority to law enforcement agencies on behalf of the minister to transport, the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, the Canadian Energy Regulator, the Bank of Canada, the Minister of Industry, and the Superintendent of Financial Institutions to enter the domicile of a designated person, either to investigate or arrest the designated person for an offense subject to review by the courts. So they have to prove, the prosecution has to prove that this person has committed an offense under the criminal code. They must have probable cause and authority to enter via a court-issued warrant from a justice of the peace or consent by the occupant. So if you say, yes, you may enter, they can look at whatever they want. Subject to Section 33, the LEO, the law enforcement officers, on behalf of a governmental authority may, for the purpose of verifying compliance or preventing non-compliance with any provision of the Act or the regulations, enter a place, including a conveyance, in which for example, the superintendent has reasonable grounds to believe that an activity regulated under the Act is being conducted, or any document, information, or thing that is relevant to that purpose is located. So that means they can cross through private property. They have the authority to do that. They can come on your land if they have a reason to do so. The powers of entry for the purposes referred to in subsection 1, the governmental authority may examine anything in the place, uses any cyber system or cause it to be used for the purposes of examining, among other things, any information contained in it or available to it, prepare a document or cause one to be prepared based on the information, examine any record, report, data, or other document and make copies of it, or take extracts from it, use any copying equipment in the place or cause it to be used, and remove any document, record, or cyber system, or a portion of it from the place for the purposes of examining it or copying it. The law enforcement agency must return any document, record, or cyber system under paragraph 2F. The authority must return it to its owner or the person in charge of it on completion of the examination or copying. For greater certainty, again, this is directly from the reading. In sections 15.1, 15.2, 15.5, and 15.7, interference with or manipulation, disruption, or degradation of a telecommunications system includes actions of a technical nature that impede the operation of the telecommunications system, but do not include the effect of lawful expression, persuasion, or political debate. Okay? So they cannot prosecute you for what you say or do online. This bill is specifically for persons that are committing hostile acts in an attempt, say something like domestic terrorism or external terrorism, in which they are attempting to disable or harm the infrastructure. So say someone plants a bomb at a relay station or a server farm, that's what this would be prosecuted under. Again, but that would be a separate criminal offense. Okay. The governor in council may publish, but is not required to, any of these orders of prosecution within the Canada Gazette. So depending on how sensitive it is, so that means if it's a low profile or it's a high profile case, depending on its visibility, right? And if they're still investigating other perpetrators of the crime, say it's a group of people who are collaborating online, either through Twitch or through Discord or something like that, or through Facebook, to plan an event for the purposes of disabling or interrupting or harming or interfering with the infrastructure, not not necessarily again an individual. Okay, the bill would specify that the purpose of the penalty, so there are penalties, of course, is to promote compliance with the orders to TSPs and regulations, and not to punish. The regime would not impose a minimum penalty. It limits the maximum amount of an administrative monetary penalty to $25,000 for an individual, or $50,000 for a subsequent contravention, and $10 million for a corporation or other non-natural person, or $15 million for subsequent contravention. So a non-natural person would be an incorporation. So a natural-born person means a citizen. And this is my interpretation. It means a citizen of Canada. The proposed act would authorize the exchange of information, including confidential information between certain parties, as necessary for the purpose of making, amending, or revoking a cybersecurity direction. The parties that would be authorized to exchange information for this purpose are the Minister of Public Safety, the designated operators regulator, and responsible minister. So the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Minister of National Defense, the Chief of Defense Staff, CSC, the CSIS, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and any other person or entity prescribed by the regulators. The purpose of the Critical Cyber Systems Protection Act is to help to protect critical cyber systems in order to support the continuity and security of vital services and vital systems by ensuring that, among other things, any cybersecurity risk in respect of critical cyber systems are identified and managed, including risks associated with supply chains and the use of third-party products and services. Critical cyber systems are protected from being compromised. Any cybersecurity incidents affecting or having the potential to affect critical cyber systems are detected, and the impact of cybersecurity incidents affecting critical cyber systems are minimized. The CCSPA establishes a cybersecurity program to be undertaken by a designated operator that belongs to a class of operators set out in Schedule 2 and must be within 90 days after the day on which his designated operator becomes a member of that class. Establish a cybersecurity program in respect to its critical cybersecurity systems and include in the program steps 2 in accordance with any regulations. So they're delegating to a private or a public office to create, again, a cybersecurity ombudsman or something like that. That's what I think is happening here. Just basically someone to provide overwatch, to provide, again, security, and that would prevent a means of security, and that would prevent the loss of service of the internet to us Canadians. Okay. So that could end up being me. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen with my life right now. It's really annoying. That being said, the other parts of this are the responsibilities of the CSP, the cybersecurity program, is to identify and manage any organizational cybersecurity risk, including risks associated with the designated operator supply chain and its use of third-party products and services. The other associated is to protect the CSP, the cybersecurity program, is to protect the critical cybersecurities from being compromised, detect any cybersecurity incident affecting or having the potential to affect its critical cyber systems, to minimize the impact of cybersecurity incidents affecting critical cyber systems, and do anything that is prescribed by the regulations. And that's the end of my notes. Again, I do not see anything in this bill that states nor enforces a requirement for a digital age of majority or proof of, but it does not disallow a TSP, a telecommunications service provider, from writing such a policy or requiring something like that. So the onus is upon the TSPs to do their due diligence, to stop any kind of compromise or attack, and then it gives this as a summary right now, and then it gives them immunity in the instance that they were unable to deal with it. I don't find this bill as worrisome as C-9. I think this something like this would have had to have come into force in order to bring the telecommunications, the TSP, or not the TSP, the Telecommunications Act, in order to update it from its previous status. Let's put it like that. I'm not worried. I don't think there's anything that's personally threatening to me. But if a person is, going around the internet acting like a black hat, trying to extort people, or going around conducting, say like identity theft, or attempting to extort people with the threat of again disabling a network, or seizing information, that sort of thing. That's what it's really about. That's what this one is really about. I'm sorry, Max. I'm sorry, Pierre, if you're speaking out against this. I don't think you were advised correctly. You should probably read this again. I say that with all fairness. Before I end this video, I was serious enough to put on a suit, at least a dress shirt and a tie and a sport coat, even though most of my formal wear is way too small for me now. And this is my grandfather's tie. I'm thinking about the reference to Pierre when he was on Joe Rogan. He said, "Oh, how did you start your political career?" Well, it was with a suit from a thrift store that used to belong to a dead guy. So I'm wearing my grandfather's tie for this one. And that's the end of this one. We'll end it here. Again, I don't see anything that's alarming in this. I really don't. And yeah. Honestly, I got nothing. I have no resistance to this. There's only when it goes through to criminal proceedings. I'm interested to see how the amendments will be used. That's what I'm really interested in. All right, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to put this online, and again, I hope it did you guys proud here. Every aircraft mechanic, every ACA is an aviation lawyer, and when I said that to someone, I'm not sure they really took me seriously. So I hope you take me seriously now.